All right, my lesson is titled God as Caricature. I want to read to you here the definition for the word caricature from the dictionary. It says, a picture, description, or imitation of a person in which certain striking characteristics are exaggerated in order to create a comic or grotesque effect. If we look at how Genesis opened up in the creation story, what we'll see is that there is a creation that went on, and I don't know how we know that stuff, because that just looks like people wrote that, not that the Creator told them that this is how we did it. And I've got a lesson coming up on that. But you see, the Torah, it's a really nice book, and it's got a lot of wise things in it, a lot of truthful things in it, but it's also got a lot of deception mingled in as well. There is no way for so many millions of people on the earth to be arguing over the points in the Torah if something isn't wrong with it. Because some people say it means this, some people say that. The greatest thing of all, because you'll just say yes because some people don't understand it properly and so on. But that might be true. But the greatest thing about the Torah is that it does not have in itself, intrinsically, that which can just bring one to the truth or to clarity and settle stuff in a world where there are discrepancy about what is in the text. I'll prove that quickly to you. The Torah says that the Most High is going to come and basically kill a lot of people, a lot of judgment, and he's going to be wreaking havoc on earth for his people, the children of Israel. So he's going to kill a lot of people. And even the children of Israel who make it into the wilderness, as the scriptures say, even some of them are going to be wiped out. They're just going to be rejected and killed off because they're not keeping the Torah laws correctly. So some people are going to go right into the wilderness believing in, let's say, the Mashiach that died 2,000 years ago, supposedly. Others are going to say, well, we can eat pork and other stuff like that. Others are going to say you shouldn't be eating any meat, period, while others are saying, yeah, you can eat meat. And so they're going to be trying to eat the meat and so on. Others are going to have all kinds of different strange doctrines and strange things that they're doing and so on. So some will have to be killed out, the text is saying. What this is showing me is that people are going to enter into the wilderness who are Israelites and who are trying to live right, but because of their belief on a particular topic or doctrine, they're just going to be killed. Of course, they're going to be given a chance, but if you can't solve it right now, how are you going to solve it then? Because when belief is in people's hearts, it's difficult. So are they just going to drop the belief? Well, that then means that you're not choosing the Most High out of just loving the Most High and loving His Word. You're doing it out of fear to not get killed in the wilderness. So Him accomplishing what He said in the Torah that you're going to do it from your heart, no, you're doing it from fear. If you're going to bend in the wilderness just to not get killed. So something is wrong with the Torah. And it really means that the Torah, if it has to show God and killing all kinds of people, including Israelites, who we already killed, many of them, during the Torah days and after with captivity, it's showing that He doesn't have any way to bring people with the book of the Torah, or even the oral Torah if you want to stretch it. He doesn't have any way to bring people to truth, whether they are Israelites or non-Israelites. So that means the book does not possess intrinsically, and I know many people are going to believe it, but I just showed you how if He has to kill people, again, even in the wilderness who are Israelites, the book itself does not possess anything to just bring people to truth. So he has to use force and the sword to kill off people who just don't believe. That sounds like an oppressor. That sounds like a tyrant. That sounds like, you see what I'm saying? Now, it's his world. If he feels that's what he's got to do, that's what he's got to do. But still, it's better if you tell me that's what he's got to do to get his world working right and his Israelites working right. But don't tell me that the book itself has that which can just solve the differences in doctrine. Because when somebody is taught a certain way and they believe doctrine with slant A, and the next person is taught a different way so that they believe the same doctrine with slant B, what are you going to do? God just has to kill off one of you. And if you're the one teaching it, you know he's going to kill off the next group of believers who don't believe it like you do. Same way, if they're the ones teaching it, they know he's going to kill you because you believe it different from them. Right? So the Torah doesn't have anything to bring you to truth. That is why I'm telling you, I've changed these days. The Torah is either not from God or it has been seriously compromised. And I would choose to believe it is not from God. Men wrote the book. Men wrote the book out of wise knowledge and so on. And even with them going into Egypt, Alexander going into Egypt and so on. How do you know that Alexander didn't go into Egypt and take, with the books that he burnt, take a lot of these writings and made a Torah out of it and tell you that Hebrews had this Torah from before? There's a lot of Egyptian concepts in this stuff. And before the Egyptians were Egyptians, we know there were other things before they really called themselves Egyptians and set up themselves as an Egyptian empire. So, like we know the whole bit before them, Sumeria and the different African groups and so on that were there before Egypt was set up. So if it is the case, and there's no way for me to know this, but if it is the case that these concepts were, and in part writing as well, were from the Egyptian empire and the Egyptian priests or priesthood, secrets, and what do they call it? Secret society kind of stuff, right, in Egypt. Then when Alexander went in, they stole the stuff, and between them and the Romans, for the most part, although other people probably helped to shape it, they would have then made what you call a Torah and later called today a Bible, and set up the Torah and then added the New Testament afterwards. You see, how do you know it didn't go like that? Because if the book itself cannot solve the problems that are in the book, you got to accept that maybe there is something wrong with the book itself. Right? So now when you look at God as caricature, you're dealing with, like I said, some kind of imitation or something. It's like someone might say Jesus is a caricature of the Father. The Son, Jesus, is a caricature of the Father because he imitates the godness of the Father, saying, all power is given unto me in heaven and earth, whereas you would read the Torah knowing that the Father, or quote-unquote God, is the one that has all power. So he imitates that, and he will heal people, and he is presented as saving everybody, or at least the Israelites, whichever one you want to pick, and dying for his sins, and different things like that, and teaching some strong lessons that are pushing for righteousness and so on, the way the Most High in the Old Testament talked about being righteous and dropping his word through his prophets and so on. So Jesus is like a caricature, then an imitation of something set up to kind of represent that and pose as the real thing. Well, in the old days, people from different cultures and lands and with their religions wrote a lot of stuff, because remember when the earth was younger as far as us being on it from what we generally accept, because who knows the real age of the earth and how long we've really been here. But when the earth was much younger, wise men, you might in a sense call them scientists today, but wise men, people were investigating nature and the luminaries and so on, and who became known later as spiritual teachers, Some common terms for them that you will hear today are like pastors, teachers, spiritual teachers, guidance, spiritual guides, gurus, babas, prophets, and so on, right? Shamans. So these people would have written certain things that they learned from their lots of meditation and wondering about nature when our life on earth was new to us, because we don't know how long the earth has been here. And they would have made their text stack, first teaching and telling each other around them and teaching and so on. Then eventually, when writing started, they wrote it down. So as they wrote down this stuff, it became books, right? The way we call books today, scrolls in the old days, now books. So it wasn't like God appeared to them, because if we're saying God gave this Torah, well, you have the problem of the discrepancy in the text with you believing one thing and me believing the next, even though it's the same book. And the book has nothing in it that can solve it, because when I quote verse A, you quote verse B, and we just keep arguing for 10 more years. So the book cannot solve the problem if a belief is deep enough in somebody's heart. The book cannot solve it. So if you say God gave it, why can't it solve it? So God gives something that can't just straighten out everything, so that only one of us can believe, and he's going to kill the next one of us when he comes to wrap up things on the earth, according to what the book is saying. The next thing is, if God gave it just because it's old, ancient, wise sayings, then who gave the other people in the other religions their holy books? Who? You see, what you have to understand is that from ancient times, wise men wrote, and like with the Bible, they said, holy men of God wrote. Well, it's just the same in ancient times. Holy men or wise men, investigating men on spiritual matters and nature and so on, wrote their stuff in their holy books. And as they wrote, people just began to read from them and learn, because these were very wise sayings. And no doubt they probably came at times when people could more appreciate spiritual stuff and weren't as antagonistic about spiritual matters and religious stuff, in terms of not fighting each other like that. So God's caricature then is trying to show you that you should consider other thoughts out there, because you're so locked into what the Torah says that you never think that there is really something else that makes sense. So you've got the Creator, who, whatever form he or it exists in, there's just a Creator who created all that we see. But then you've got the God of the Torah, who is like the God of other religions. Like, you got the monkey god, the storm god, and all the other gods that are out there. Well, you got the God of Israel too, or the God of the Hebrews, Yahweh, or Yah for short. He is a caricature of the Creator, who just wanted simplicity. Not his whole 613 laws. See, they can trick you with 613 laws and tell you about counting the Hebrew letters, and this Hebrew letter has this numerical value and that other numerical value. When you add it up, it tells you 613 laws. This is really why I'm doing this lesson, because Hebrew is not necessarily the most powerful language on earth. There are other very powerful languages as well, and languages, as far as I'm seeing, are more powerful than the Hebrew itself. And I was doing the Hebrew language search last year, and I dropped off of it to make all the other videos that you've seen me making. But I'm going to come back with the Hebrew language search again, because I got other information I want to search, which I knew at the time when I was making the videos, but I wanted to look into it some more, and I want to share some more stuff as I continue my search. But there's no way you can get me to believe Hebrew is the original language. Not modern Hebrew and not Paleo Hebrew. No way. But you've got the Creator, and he goes for simplicity. The complexity in creation is what he or it used to create everything. But in terms of you interfacing with it, it's just simple. He just says, look, this is a tree. You eat from the fruits of the tree, things that grow off the ground. And then it went on and said, name the animals, and don't eat from this particular tree. Very simple. But now you get 613 complicated stuff. So what it showed me is that precept-wise, the Creator goes for simplicity. But then a Yahweh comes into the picture that wants you to memorize 613. Although all of those might not apply to each person. But with Yahweh, things get more complicated because that is the trick of religion and the trick of the Torah. If you complicate stuff well enough, people are meandering through a maze, going back and forth, trying to find the way out. Can't find it because they're so caught up and obsessed with 613 that they'll never realize that the 613 is all about a maze of spirituality, of a spiritual disguise, masking itself as Yahweh or as God, to not let you find the Creator, the simplicity in the Creator. Who it's just like this whole oral law stuff and written law and oral law. They complicate stuff so much. You're reading the written law, the Torah, in the oldest Hebrew you can find, because you're trying to look at the modern Hebrew, but then you look at the Paleo Hebrew, and then when you start to figure out more stuff and you start to question stuff and realize, well, the Hebrews are actually, the Israelites are actually black people, and you find out other stuff, that this, that, and the other, then all of a sudden now they hit you, well, there's oral law as well, and they complicate stuff, and you can't figure it out unless you got the oral law. So you see that? They keep complicating stuff because this is just another religion on the earth, this Torah, this Abrahamic religion. It's just another religion that's meant to complicate stuff. So the Creator, though, let's say the Creator is just there, creates everything in simplicity. You just get up and just eat your food, and you enjoy your life, and you find purpose and meaning in life, in whatever path you take in life. And you just don't be wicked to other people and so on. Allow everybody to enjoy the creation and the earth and so on, right? And but then Yahweh comes in to complicate stuff with this massive amount of laws, and you got to do this and do that, do this and do that. And nobody ever gets to see him either. We don't know who this Creator is. We sure don't know who this Yahweh is. But at least for what people generally accept as being the Creator, Yahweh, or the God of the Hebrews, or the God of the Torah, is a caricature of that more simpler God, who isn't walking around trying to kill you left, right, and center. The Creator, precept-wise, gave life. Gave life because He created. He or it created. But then Yahweh comes and tries to take life. You notice all the killing is done by Yahweh, but the precept shows that the Creator gave life. And so they use the word, not Yahweh initially in the Torah, but just simply Elohim. In the beginning, Elohim. Which is just a general word for God. Why? They're trying to tell you it's just a general word that we made up or we used from ancient times for who or what we call the Creator. Which every people group would have used, but they would use the equivalent in their language for that word God, or for that word Elohim. Right? So, the other, just like Yahweh is a caricature of the Creator, who's making you think that He's the real thing when it's a Creator who wants you to be free, but Yahweh is binding you up all the time with His laws. Every time you turn around, there's one of the other 613 laws to get you. But it's the same way that the gods of the other cultures or religions in other nations, they have caricatures as well for themselves of the Creator. If they think the Creator is like a snake, they got a snake god. If they think the Creator has something to do with flying, they got some flying god. They got some thunder god. They got some monkey god. They got some wine god. They got some all kinds of god. A God of time, a God of everything. These are caricatures that they use to represent the real God, and they put it on people to enslave people's minds. And then they take advantage of the people whose minds have been snared and trapped to not know freedom anymore of the Creator in the free world He gave to mankind. And religion then becomes a trap by all the caricatures used to enslave the people on the earth who the Creator made and never tried to enslave them but gave them freedom. Yahweh, like the other gods, is a caricature of the Creator, an imitation, a fake that binds man and that punishes him all the time, right? And just destroys your life. Because yeah, you'll find some people keeping the Torah who do a lot of good things and so on. I won't deny that. But from the top of religion worldwide, religion in general is used to subjugate people, to take advantage, and to take even your very food out of your hand when you got small children to feed a whole household, and you got to come and bring your bread to them and bring your whatever. When in old times, even in the days of the Torah, a lot of people were peasants, and you still got to bring your bread to them and give them your bread, the little half a loaf of bread, and you got to still break off a half of it and give them while your children are still hungry. And then they have special feasts and they got to bring more. And they got to bring your animal. You got two little half-dead scrawny sheep or bull or whatever, or goat. While the riches in society that are running the land, the kings and the rich priests and so on, they've got the riches and they've got a lot of sheep, a lot of bulls and so on, and a lot of goats. And you got two little scrawny one, half near ready to die. By 2 weeks longer he can live because that's as much as you have to feed him. And he still got to bring one of his scrawny ass to give to the priest or to sacrifice to Yahweh or whatever God you worship. Because religion will take even your scrawny goat from you to come and sacrifice and kill, and leave you with one scrawny goat to try to pull your stuff as you go your little dried up farming and whatever as a peasant. You see that religion? But the Creator was opposite now. He gave abundance in Eden, lots of fruit. You can eat all this food. And he said, devour the food. The Hebrew word for eating, it's telling you to devour. So you got abundance, a lot of food. But a priesthood system tells you to bring the little that you have and give it. Because these gods are caricatures of the Creator. And man continues to be bound by religious views.